Angel baby. Oh my baby. And the teacher goes,
No.
who's that singing?
Sequence 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. This is Overflow, the extended conversation covering life, today's newsbreakers, and the occasional banter with the most interesting members of the human species. Signaling from the conservative chasm of Central Valley, California. It's the outlaws your conscience warned you about. Let's welcome your hosts, Loto and PhillVill.
What's uppers? It's episode number 7. Oh my goodness. PhillVill, how did we get over here?
After 6 comes 7, so I'm thank God for
See, man, you educated, man. You graduated.
I learned how to. I am so honored.
Yes.
7th day.
Yes. On the 7th day, what did God do?
You rested.
Oh my gosh, I wish we'd get some of that, but we got work to do here in the conservative chasm of California. So PhillVill, man, how was the weekend, bro?
We went to church. Got to spend some time with some friends I haven't seen in a while. Went to go stopping after our services and just amazing seeing some friends answering the call and worship.
Awesome.
And then last night we had some time then Sunday night we had a little going away party for, shout out to Olivia.
Leader.
Yeah, she was one of our youth back at church. And
Amen.
Pastor Sean, he was the youth pastor there.
Amen.
And so we got to see one of our youth just answer the call.
Yes.
She's going to Bible college, Loto. Olivia is one that she could preach the word of God. I remember at 16 years old, she's on the platform just sharing the word of God. I mean, she raised the bar even for adults.
Praise God, bro. Yes, absolutely. That girl, man, she definitely got an anointing on her and a calling. This weekend, bro, it was super nice, man. Had a wedding for the Watson. Shout out to the Watson, newly wedded couple. And Saturday, we had a team gathering with JJC, Juvenile Hall team. It was awesome, bro, just to get some playtime together, man. It was a trip, It was like, wait, this is not a meeting? Nope. It was, it was all food, fun, and a whole lot more food. Man, it was a lot of good food. Shout out to Jackie bringing in the charcuterie or whatever that fancy stuff is. She it's those platters for those of you that don't know, with all the fancy fruits, fancy hors d'oeuvres and everything like that. So it was an awesome meeting with the JJC team, bro. I just thank God for where we're at and where God is taking us. Celebrating, man, with this team about 12 years of ministry, to the kids there.
I saw some pictures online. There's some major hitters. The dream team has been assembled, it looks like.
Praise God, bro. Oh, as a matter of fact, our guest from last week, Nick and Maria Peril, they hosted the event, man. It was a really nice time over there. Had the pool going. Maria made that place look like a palace. Man, it was funny. Some of the team came through. They thought they were at the wrong house. They thought it was a wedding. That's how beautiful she made everything for us.
Speaking of Nick and Maria, we've been hearing so many reports for episodes 5 and 6, part 1, part 2 of From the Flat Line to the Front Lines with Nick and his powerful testimony.
Yeah.
It's just hearing all the great reports of how their story is impacting people across the valley and the area.
Still feeling the impact, brother.
I heard something special happened and you did a thing.
Yes, I definitely did a thing. Last week, got to pray for some interesting people, man. Some really neat people. It just blows my mind that I got asked to do the invocation for this year's probation officer swearing in and recognition of some employees that were being acknowledged for their excellent work. I'm just humble, honored, bro. It's almost 28 years to the day, that I'm standing on that stage with leaders of law enforcement. You had a county board member up there. You had the chief of probation's up there. You had deputy chiefs, and it was just awesome and humbling because just 28 years ago, again, almost to the day, I'm in those streets, gangbanger, shot in the face, lost my sight, gave my life to God. And there was no way I could see that 28 years later, I'm standing on top of that stage with the leaders of law enforcement, praying for the future of law enforcement. Yeah. Did a pretty cool thing, man. Yeah, bro. Very, very humbled.
Congratulations. I know that's a big milestone just to show the other side of your story. People don't get to see that you pretty regularly ministering to juvenile hall and the kids, but in the earshot of ministering the kids are the law enforcement officers there, the guards, testimony after testimony over the years of his camps or different places and you're impacting lives in the walls of juvenile hall and beyond.
I was sharing with some of the team, at that gathering this weekend, our relationship with the correction officers and the guards and the staff there at JJC starts earlier now. We don't just meet each other at the hall. Now we actually get to meet them as they get sworn in. I love the people of JJC. I always brag on Fresno County Juvenile Hall. None of us want our kids to be locked up, but if we had to send our kids somewhere, definitely Fresno County, because they do an excellent job with the kids. Again, grateful and thank you, bro, for sharing that. Yes, and before we get into the episode, man, I just want to remind everyone about the campaign.
Yes.
Don't have to remind you all. It's the election season because it's all over the screens. Overflow EXE got our own campaign going on, and that's 1,000 subscribers. That's 1,000 subscribers and even thousands more lives, So again, we want you guys to get behind it and push it, because we will get there faster with your support. Again, what does that mean? We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers to open up more opportunities that we can reach even more lives. Like Philip said last week, make sure that you go to your favorite platform for podcasting and subscribe. So PhillVill, it is August.
Yes.
That means back to school season, brother. And you already know, you should already know, where I'm going to go with this.
Uh-oh.
First day of school, what was that like, bro?
First day of school. Was I nervous? I don't know if I remember that, but I remember in kindergarten in Mendota, Washington Elementary. I got some friends there. I was an introvert. I think my mom was there. I wasn't the only one
Okay,
with
sweetie.
mom there, because I think my mom was nervous of leaving me, but I didn't think I cried. I think she snuck off and left me. Oh, man, we can traumatize just thinking about the story. I was left behind. My mom left me. No.
You literally got dropped off.
No, I got dropped off. By the way, in kindergarten, I remember I had 4 desks back to back, or they made a little cube, and there was a girl named Patty that sat there of the 4, and I just remember seeing that in my mind, like, man, she's so beautiful. She's so beautiful. I remember her name was Patty. I don't know why I remember that. I think I told my wife this story. In the middle of I just looking at her, and I started singing Angel Baby.
Oh,
Angel Baby. And the teacher goes,
no.
Who's that singing? I was like, I have no idea why I fell in love in kindergarten already. But that's like, them was like, what? But yeah, I remember kindergarten. I know it's not the first day of school. It could have been the first day of school, but I have a very limited memory of kindergarten. But that was my first day,
Angel Baby?
Angel Baby, yeah.
Wow.
My dad listened to oldies all the time, so that's...
Yeah, and they bought that song back. I actually like that song.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't, they make fun of it, but no, I'm not with Angel Baby, but it's a kindergarten, and you're looking at, wow, okay then. All right, I think that really is a first.
That is a first. I won't share too many of those stories, but yeah.
Speaking of first day of school and your Angel Baby song, brother, everybody loves to listen to some good music, and really, that's where we get a lot of our music influence from, it's from other kids and what they're listening to. Isn't there something that just happened recently that really kind of rocked the music world a little bit?
Yes. And here's a headline. Is Eminem a Christian? New song features him praising Jesus.
I caught wind of this a couple of days ago, got to read some of the lyrics, and then got to hear some of it. It's actually, as far as production, artistically, creatively, it's nice. It's a great project. At the same time, we're getting a lot of different people commenting and sharing their thoughts about, is he a Christian now? I'm noticing a trend, PhillVill, across board. There's other artists, like one mentioned there is Kanye. That article got Mace, a while back, he went gospel. And so I'm just super blessed that, hey, the gospel is being talked about, that the gospel is starting to make the center stage, in a lot of these conversations. To Eminem, to call him a Christian now, for me personally, bro, I think it's a little too early to make that determination. But if he's truly surrendered his life to Christ and made Jesus his Lord and Savior, praise God, bro. What do you think about this, Phil? I know you kind of have an outside perspective on this.
One thing I noticed about this track, he doesn't curse at all. Here's a little part of a snippet of what his lyrics are saying. Bible at my side like a rifle with a God-given gift. Every single day I thank God for. That's why I pay so much homage. Praise to Jesus. I always.
Man, that's quite a piece of work. What should be the church's response to this? I don't speak for the whole church, but I think we should at least be embracive. I don't think that we should just jump the gun here. Oh man, he's a Christian now, because we as a church, we've made that mistake so many times. But I think it is okay to be open-armed. That's how we should be anyway as a church. We need to pray for all these artists. If they genuinely made a turn to God, it must be a very difficult thing, especially with the world that they live in. I feel the same way about those who become Christians in Hollywood. If Eminem, has truly turned to God and found faith in God, I got to celebrate that. Thank God for that. Like the old man said, trust but verify. But I can definitely celebrate that, man. This is the first song the guy has not cussed in, you know? And to me, at least, that does say, you know, a lot, because we all know how inflammatory, you know, the brother could be. I hope that he makes more of this type of music, you know, because a lot of students, you know, are going back to school again this month, you know, and could use a lot of good, positive, or even more gospel music.
I hear the sound of rain. God said in the last day, I will pour out my spirit. And if you'll listen, you'll begin to hear the sound of an abundance of rain. God is about to do something. I'm ready for it to rain. I'm ready for an outpouring of God's Spirit. The next thing to fill California. The next thing to fill America. The next thing to fill the nation will be the glory of the living Christ.
Let's get ready to be everything that God has called us to be. He's invested too much for you to be sitting up in a room. He's poured too much into you for you to be standing still.
There is goodness and mercy and grace and joy given to you in your life when you start to let go of the offenses of others. No matter how large, how medium, or how little the offense may be. This test is going to become part of my testimony. This mess is going to become a part of my message.
Put me in jail. I'll have a jail ministry that will blow up, and we'll see the whole prison get saved if that's where you're going to put me. But I have made a commitment, and I'm not going to turn my back on God. I don't care what the world says.
You're listening to Overflow, the extended conversation.
Conversation.
Now back to your hosts, Loto and PhillVill.
And so, speaking of school students and rocking the world, there was something that happened, something else that happened last week.
This story is going to get people talking. A Missouri school district is bringing back an old school form of punishment, paddling.
The Cassville School District is asking parents to give written permission to allow them to spank their child as punishment.
This is an opt-in only option for parents. So anyone who disagrees with corporal punishment, they simply do nothing.
So now the district says spanking will be the last resort.
Most states have outlawed corporal punishment in schools.
All I can remember is being in school and all my friends bringing extra pairs of shorts so that whoever's about to get it, you know, you could walk into that office with like 5 pairs of shorts on under, you know, 3 pairs of pants. This is pretty surprising.
A lot of parents are complaining, but a lot of parents are welcoming it.
Yeah.
Because a key takeaway is they have to get permission first. I don't know about you, but, you know, I was spanked. I'm grateful for it, but I don't know how I feel about a stranger spanking my child.
Very true. I grew up, you know, getting spanked, and I have to be honest, you know, it definitely worked in a lot of situations, you know. For a lot of kids, it does work all the time. For other kids, I don't think it does. It's a case-by-case situation. That's why I'm really glad that, you know, they took the approach that they did. Like you said, you know, it's an opt-in situation. You know, they have to get the parents' permission. I would really keep a close eye on that. I agree with you, PhillVill, not too secure with, you know, other people spanking my kids. I will say, though, that as parents, we should find different ways to expose our kids to other people's authority, you know, to allow other people, you know, to have some type of authority role, you know, in their lives. Because I'm also not with the whole, well, you're not my dad, you're not my mom, you know, and I get it, man. But a lot of times those lead to bad experiences for a lot of kids who don't know how to comply, you know, when they're outside of the house.
I do think it's important, though, to teach our kids to respect authority. Like you're talking about, if it's a teacher, if it's a policeman, if it's a youth pastor, unless it's something that's harmful to you, you need to listen to authority.
Yeah.
Even for kids, I was, just for the threat of being spanked, helped me stay in line. I think that's one thing they put on the table. They may not get spanked, but anticipating being spanked, or that was an option, it changes behavior.
Definitely, bro. Great point. These are serious matters, and I think definitely with something this sensitive and this important, bro, we let's go back to, our point of reference. And what does the Bible say?
So Ephesians 6:4, fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord.
Man, I love this scripture, especially when it comes to discipline, because there's some things here that we have to highlight. Whenever we talk about discipline, corporal punishment, all of that, the go-to scripture is spare not the rod, or you will spoil the child, but that's so debatable that becomes controversial. And then it just becomes about the instrument of discipline.
Yeah.
When really, I think it's exactly what that verse says. It should be about the intention and the instructions of the discipline. We need to get back to the why, not so much the how just yet. Let's figure out the why and what we're trying to teach the child, and then let's take instruction from that, and it'll tell us like what the appropriate discipline is. Sometimes a spanking might be appropriate, but not all the time. Sometimes just a stern talking, even those approaches are only half the way there, because we still need to pick the kid up and explain to them what just happened, or really follow up and make sure that they understand the intention and the instructions.
Yeah, I like what you're saying, because spanking is one part of something, but the bigger picture is training and instruction. If my daughter, who's 2 years old, doesn't know something, why is she going to get spanked for something she doesn't know? We need to instruct them and teach her what right and wrong is, or why. She loves to stand on top of the chair. I remember the beginning was tell her, no, you get down, Mia, get down. And she's like, didn't even know what we're trying to tell her.
Yeah.
And then after a while, and then say, Mia, no, get down. Don't stand up, sit down. And then she sits down, and then we say, thank you. Now she does it. Mia, sit down. She sits down, and then she says, thank you. So it changes. She's being trained.
Yes.
But I'm not like, we're like spanking. No. I'm like, again, what is appropriate?
Yeah, exactly, bro. And the first part of it, it says, do not exasperate your children. It's telling your fathers this, when it comes to discipline. And that is so good, because there's no point in discipline where all you're doing is just making the kid throw even more of a fit and being more mad. When it gets to that point, you have to figure out a different way to bring the discipline, because obviously the way we're using, whether it's spanking or just talking, it's not working. So we have to find something, find a different approach.
And there's another verse here in Proverbs 22:15. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of correction will drive it far from him.
One of my things about the whole discipline thing is, us parents, we need the liberty and the right to discipline our children. There's so many people that have their own opinions and all that. But look at here. I'd rather discipline my kid before the judge has to discipline my child.
Yes, that's right.
I'd rather discipline my own children, before the teacher has to. And that was one thing about my parents. I respected the teacher and I listened to the teacher because I feared that belt at home. I love my parents. I respected them, but boy, that belt did keep me out of a lot of trouble. I did end up making a lot of dumb decisions on my own. So early on in our parenthood, Maria and I really thank God, because she read a book. She bought a book home and we were going through it. And it talked about how important it is to establish authority. And that's a big part of discipline. Whenever we told our kids, hey, you better pick up that toy or it's going to get thrown away, we better make sure that we're ready to throw that toy away before we made that kind of a threat or a promise, because if they didn't listen and we didn't throw it away, well, that creates a habit and this thought pattern that, well, they don't really know, mean what they say. So then let's move the kid to outside. And we're near the street. It's like, don't go near that street or you're going to get spanked. Kid takes off and starts running towards that street. And we could yell all we want. We can try to use our voice of authority all we want. But that kid has created a habit of thinking that mom and dad doesn't really mean what they say. So it's also about keeping security and keeping our kids safe.
It's our right to yell at them. Do not run across the street. But our rights are being challenged right now in the state of California.
Yes, PhillVill. I was just going to say, oh, man, my guy. Is parental rights still a thing?
Hi, my name's Erin Friday. I'm a Democrat, and I voted for same-sex marriage. I'm one of the leads of Our Duty and parents of ROGD kids. There are thousands of parents in our group. We are cheering on the states that are stopping gender medicine on children. Parents in the state of California have lost custody of their children merely by calling their child by their legal name. SB 107 must not pass. Custody is one of the hardest fought aspects of a divorce, and California cannot just wipe away an out-of-state agreement addressing which parent controls the medical health of a child. Scott Wiener, a man without children, is pushing gender-affirmative medicine laws for minors, while other countries are moving away from the affirmation model. Look to Sweden, Finland, Norway, the UK, and France. You need to be 100% confident that sterilizing children is truly life-saving. The number of kids going to gender clinics is skyrocketing. In the UK, it is a 5,000% uptick for girls, as seen in the graph. It's the same here. We parents know it's a social contagion as we watch clusters of friend groups come out as trans. It's not organic. If trans medicine prevents suicide, why then, as trans medicine gets more prevalent, are more girls committing suicide? Why are they suffering from severe depression, engaging in self-harm? This gene twinge graph of suicide and self-harm matches the trans medicine trajectory. Laura Edwards Leeper, who brought pediatric gender care to the United States, says, and I quote, "There are no studies that say that if we don't start these kids immediately on hormones, when they say that they want them, that they are going to commit suicide." The long-term effects of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones is largely unknown. What is known is that bone density and brain development is adversely affected.
Ma'am, respectfully, if you could please wrap up. Your time's been exceeded.
Marcy Bowers, a trans woman and current president of WPATH on the effect of puberty blockers on biological males, says, and I quote, "Every single child who is blocked at standard stage 2 has never experienced an orgasm. I mean, it's 0. These young men are also rendered irreversibly sterile. Don't make California a refuge for what will be seen as the largest medical scandal in history."
That's Erin Friday. She's talking about a California bill that allows kids to cross state lines for gender surgery.
And that's crossing a state line into California, not leaving California, but that's bringing kids in from other states and making it legal for them to do it here. And it's even worse than that, PhillVill. They're not required to let the parents know.
Yes, a lot of other states have deemed child mutilation as a form of child abuse.
Man, bro, this video says a lot, and there's a lot to unpack here.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things that us parents really need to acknowledge, and we really need to pursue truth in a lot of this. So, like I said, this is Erin Friday. You know, the thing that stuck out to me is right in the beginning, she states her party affiliation. This is not a conservative. This is not, a Republican. This is not somebody that, a right winger. I'm pretty sure she didn't vote for Trump. This is a Democrat, bro.
Yeah. And
I'm so thankful, man. I want to celebrate her, and celebrate any Democrat, anyone who's willing to go past their party lines to look out for kids, because this, speaking of trans, this transcends party line, doesn't it?
It shouldn't be about party. It shouldn't be about left, right. It should be for parents' rights, period. You need to take a stand against the activists that are saying it's okay for me to take your child without you knowing, and having them have reassignment surgery ultimately changed their life forever, from them having kids and in the community that you see the suicide rate so high.
Yeah.
And regretting chemically castration.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you name some of the side effects. There's so many more side effects, and again, this bill will allow people to bring kids without their parents' knowledge, permission, or any of that. Remember when people would take kids without your permission? I think they called it kidnapping. When somebody took a child without the proper permission, there was alerts that would go off, Amber Alert. Matter of fact, in California, I really thank God because we have a very quick response, and quick recovery. I was in Alaska, and they're talking about how great our Amber Alert system is here, because everybody's aware, and there's so many people that's engaged in that. But this is literally telling us to not care if a kid gets taken and kidnapped and taken to another state. Not just to be taken to another state, but to literally change their body.
They could go months and months of transitioning, reassign surgeries, chemical altering, puberty blockers, all these different things. And the parent will not have any idea what's happening.
Yes.
The teachers and other people's in authority are doing this behind the parents' back, and they're trying to make it legal to do that.
So again, the question again is parental rights. Is it still a thing? I really thank God for the reason why Erin Friday, took this stance. It's not because she's against, these lifestyles. For her, it's health. And for her, it's the future of these kids that these other folks, say that they're there to protect these kids. These guys are really good at wordplay, gender affirmation medicine,
gender affirming healthcare, and mental health care.
Yeah, gender affirming. No, I don't think so, because this is totally changing their gender. So, it's kind of like Planned Parenthood, right? It has nothing to do with planning, being parents. Matter of fact, I think the proper name for them is parent planning hood winked, because that's definitely what's going on, but with in this case though, it is very dangerous. It's very alarming. And I wanted to bring this up in this show. We need to start paying attention and really taking a stand, because they are taking our rights right out from under our nose. I'll never forget, when there was a bomb threat, at our kids' school, and my wife goes to the school to pick them up. She goes on campus and somebody comes up to tell her that she needs to get off campus. She says, I'm here to pick up my child. And they told her, well, I'm sorry, but, your child is our responsibility. You don't have any, you can't come and get her, we're keeping her, or you can't come get your kids, we're keeping them.
Really?
That's not what you want to tell Maria Elena Leila Matafao, when she gets a bomb threat at her kid's school, but this is a reality. Now, this didn't just happen last week. No, this has been years ago, and things are just getting worse, as we see. Whoever thought 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago that we talk about children's sexuality, first of all.
We're seeing school boards across America, Loto, that are passing the non-discrimination policies that are really destructive to the family, destructive to parents' rights.
Absolutely. I mean, parents' rights are under attack. And that's why we're sounding the alarm here on Overflow EXT, because there is an attack on parental rights, and Philip, what you're talking about, they just did locally right there in Visalia. I believe they just passed, Matt was telling us that they passed 5-0, the board there, and so again, we need to start educating ourselves. We need to start looking into these things. I get it. I understand. We look at these bills and we see a bunch of numbers and a bunch of information like, I'm going to go watch my Korean soap operas. Don't act like y'all don't watch this stuff, man.
What is it you watch?
A lot of my, it's a thing, bro. Like a lot of people watch, these Korean soap operas, but it's let me put it this way. If you can watch a soap opera in a language that you do not understand, you can read a few bills, And so these bills are being passed. And this is why it's important for us to show up, to advocate, to go and apply ourselves, apply our agency, apply whatever we need to apply to make sure that we protect our kids. Now, the law that Erin Friday is talking about is the SB 107, the gender, what is it? Affirming, healthcare, which it doesn't even affirm the gender. It confirms confusion. Yeah. It confuses gender, but this is a law that's still going through the process. It hasn't been completely passed yet, but there's already laws, folks. There's already bills, folks, that has become law already. What is it? The AB
1184.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read part of it here. It says prohibits healthcare providers from disclosing services as a patient receives under an insurance policy held by another person.
Wow.
Such as a parent or a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Thus, a youth receiving transgender healthcare under their parent's policy can request their health provider not inform them their child is receiving such care. What does that mean, Loto?
That means that the parents' simplest and most basic duty and right to protect their kid has been taken away from them because they can't even provide that protection because they don't even know the child is getting, these procedures done, or, these hormone blockers, and all of that. And that's not the only bill. There's also the AB 2119.
Foster care bill, gender affirming healthcare and mental health care.
What's the first word in that bill?
Foster care.
So when we look past all the numbers and all this mumbo jumbo, we start to see a plan or an agenda here. We got the 107, talking about, the gender affirming healthcare. But then you look, and you see the foster care, the foster bill where, the kids in foster care, they can get transgender healthcare. And that's why 107 talks about bringing kids in from other states and entering them into the foster care. So now we bring these kids in, they get into the foster care, and they can go get these procedures or hormone blockers, whatever. They're going to try to prescribe to these kids. And not only that, they also figured out how to pay for it in that bill that PhillVill read earlier, 1184, where now the parents' insurance pays for it without the parents' knowledge. Parents, do you still think that you have rights? They're being taken away from you. They're being stolen from you. It is time for us to stand up and, really take a stand, because this affects our kids. As long as we keep our heads in the sand, as long as we're too busy, believe you me, these other people. Now, I'm not talking about just Democrats. I'm not talking about, this has nothing to do with party. This has everything to do with the people that we love, our children. If we're too busy to take a stand and we're too busy to get involved, believe you me, they are not too busy to take away your parental rights. They're not too busy to take your kids from you.
They can be taken away from the school when the parents are thinking they're just at school being transitioned to another gender. The parents are actually paying for it with their insurance because if the parents don't know about that, then if the parents then find out about it and speak up about it, they're now just discriminating against their own child, and CPS then can get involved and take away.
Yes.
And then the foster kid system gets involved, and it's a mess.
It's already happened. This is the craziest thing, bro. That's what Aaron Friday's talking about. There's another dad, who questioned, his child's, gender, and the child thought, well, I'm this or that, so the father questions it. Who shows up? CPS again, driving as many kids as they can into the foster system so that they can, they can go through this horrific experience. Parents, we have to stand up. Nobody's going to protect your rights like you will. Matter of fact, nobody's going to protect those rights except for you. It's time for us to really become aware and get into this arena because our kids depend on it. And so PhillVill, man, you mentioned the side effects earlier, but there's definitely other side effects, and there's very lasting side effects. I know that one of them is, bone density, and sterilization. As a matter of fact, this is a very serious, subject here, and we actually have a face and a name to go with this, don't we?
All right, here we have a story from a young California woman named Chloe.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I am a 17-year-old detransitioner from the Central Valley. I was medically transitioned from ages 13 to 16. My parents took me to a therapist who affirmed my male identity, and the therapist did not care about causality or encourage me to learn to be comfortable in my body. He brushed off my parents' concerns about the efficacy of hormones, puberty blockers, and surgeries. My parents were given the threat of suicide as a reason to move me forward in my transition. My endocrinologist, after 2 to 3 appointments, put me on puberty blockers and injectable testosterone. At age 15, I asked to remove my breasts. My therapist continued to affirm my transition. I attended a top surgery class that was filled with around 12 girls that thought they were men. Most were my age or younger. None of us were going to be men. We were fleeing from the uncomfortable feeling of becoming women. I was unknowingly physically cutting off my true self from my body, irreversibly and painfully. Our trans identities were not questioned. I went through with surgery. Despite having therapists and attending the top surgery class, I really didn't understand all of the ramifications of any of the medical decisions I was making. I wasn't capable of understanding, and it was downplayed consistently. My parents, on the other hand, were pressured to continue my so-called gender journey with a suicide threat. I will never be able to breastfeed a child. I have blood clots in my urine. I am unable to fully empty my bladder. I do not yet know if I am capable of carrying a child to full term. In fact, even the doctors who put me on puberty blockers and testosterone do not know. SB 107 is circumventing states' laws that have needed safeguards in place so my story is not repeated. Children cannot consent. Vote no on SB 107.
A lot of our folks right here in the Central Valley is watching this podcast right now, PhillVill. Can you remind us where this girl's from?
The Central Valley.
Parents, this is right in your backyard. This is happening here. This is not just happening somewhere out there, New York, Washington. No, this is happening right here. We have to take a stand. We have to take a stand because our kids, it starts with the whole confusion. It's so crazy, PhillVill. Like, what's next? You know, it's so sad, you know, that, you know, man, Phil, again, man, this video shows us, you know, that, you know, these things, they're not just something that just happens and you can wake up and recover from it or, you know, just make a decision to just go back to the way things were. No, it shows the lasting effects, you know. This is not gender affirming. This is gender confusion, brother. You know, but I thank God, you know, that I'm encouraged by people like Aaron Friday, you know, who's taking a stand. And man, you know, again, this transcends party line. There's a whole coalition, you know, that's behind her, you know, of Democrats, Republicans, independents, you know, people, you know, and again, let them remind us that, man, let's get into this fight and let's take our rights back, because obviously these people that we put in these offices are not going to defend our parental rights. So we got to do it on our own.
Yes. So speaking of gender confusion, all the way across the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean in the UK, there's something crazy that took place at a gay parade.
We're marching in a march. At the moment. No, I just want to make sure. Yeah, you know now. Let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding. Yeah. So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people. We're lesbians. Okay? We're lesbians. It's gay pride. Whatever you are at the moment is causing confrontation. Take that you march yourself. We don't want to do that. We want to be part of the march. That's your choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord. I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march. Yes, that is what's happening. Okay, why? For safety. For your safety, for other people's safety. That's why you should be able to protect lesbians. You should be able to protect lesbians. We can have further conversations about the reasons why at the side of the road, because otherwise you are going to be removed from the.
Yeah. Okay. So there we have an officer instructing lesbians there at the gay parade, the LGBTQ plus parade, and they're asking the lesbians to leave for their safety.
I'm sorry, LGBTQ plus. Well, what does the L stand for? And I mean, I'm not sure if they realize how bad this makes them look.
Yeah, we're not trying to be insensitive to anything. We're just trying to understand, right?
Well, I mean, the police officer. Okay, so why is the police officer removing lesbians from a LGBTQ? Why is he trying to remove them from this parade?
It wasn't an LGBT. It was a GTP.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, BGT, whatever. You know,
yes.
Removing them because, you know, for their safety. Is this police officer actually telling us that transgenders and gay people are violent? You know, this does not look good anywhere on this video. This is, folks, this is the confusion. This is the confusion.
Yeah, he's saying whatever you are, you're causing confrontation.
Women, I'm telling you right now, just like us parents have to fight for our own rights, women, I hope you understand that you are under attack and you are being so used, you know. Man, PhillVill, this has been quite the show, brother. You know, I want to just wrap up with just sharing one more verse, bro, to tie this whole thing up. Can you read Proverbs chapter 12, verse 1?
Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid.
You all are going back to school. All the students out there that's listening or watching, you know, love discipline, love instruction. And now I'm not talking about go love spanking, but let's be honest. A lot of us, we make decisions that gets into trouble, and it seems like we love to get spanked or love to be in trouble. If you're going to take anything away from this show, it's that, man, if you don't want to lead a life that's confusing, then learn how to take instruction, but learn where to get instruction from. If you really want the right instruction, it's from the Bible. The Bible is an amazing textbook. It's an awesome study book. It will teach you about life. It'll teach you the right things to do. In fact, I want to encourage you. Philip just read a chapter out of the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is a very, very important book. It's an important book to me. A lot of people refer to it as the book of knowledge. It has 31 chapters in there. And I would encourage all of you students to take this Proverbs and break it up, one chapter a day. That way, by the time you get to the end of the chapter, it's the end of the month and you can start all over again. But it has so much wisdom in there. It has so much knowledge in there. I've learned so much about life. I've learned so much about me, and I've learned so much about who I really am, because I've also learned about who God really is. Until you really get to know God, you really won't know who you are. And when you don't know who you are, the risk is you're going to let somebody else tell you who you are. And that's where the confusion comes in. You were created by one person, and that's God. We had the question of life, right, PhillVill? And that's, what was I born for? Or what am I doing here? There's a huge attack on destiny. There's an attack on fate. Because the people that's behind these attacks, they don't want you to know that your life has already been designed, that there is a design out there, and that there is a plan already for you that was made for you. And you got to find that plan. And that's the plan of God. The only place you're going to find that is in the Bible. And again, Proverbs is a great place to start. Parents, let's start really rethinking how we discipline our kids. Let's make sure that we're giving them the appropriate discipline. Let's make sure that, again, the time fits the crime, but I want to encourage you parents that man, the only people that's really going to stand up for our children is us. Nobody's going to defend them like you do. And it's time for us to start getting involved with our kids. I know that we live in a crazy world that's very demanding, and so we're busy. But I pray that you're not too busy to take care of your kids and to protect your kids from those who are obviously not too busy to introduce them to things that will harm them. So in closing, again, I just want to encourage all of those who are going back to school to love instruction. Don't be a dummy. Again, this verse says that those who love instruction loves wisdom, and those who hate instruction are stupid. PhillVill, another show, brother.
No, it's a great discussion. Episode number 7, Loto. Great to continue the discussion of what things that we could do to take a stand for our kids.
Well, man, PhillVill, yes, absolutely. Great show. Again, we want to remind all of our audience, all of our family to reach out to us, man. Leave us your messages and comments on your favorite social platform, and then again, go and subscribe. Get behind the 1,000 Army, getting the 1,000 subscribers to reach even thousands more lives. Go to your favorite platform for podcasting and make sure you hit that subscribe and then share. But it's episode 7, and I think it's our turn for us to go get some rest, brother.
Thank you for joining us today, each and every week for Overflow EXT. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you again for joining us. And again, we'll see you next week. Loto, and we'll see you next week too.
Yes, sir. Lord bless. Love y'all.
You've been listening to Overflow, the extended conversation, obliterating social norms and overrunning the cultural corrosion with righteous rhetoric and common sense. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to like, rate, and review, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on social media at Overflow EXT. Lord bless, and we'll see you next time on Overflow, the extended conversation.